Hello and welcome once more to You Even Creepypasta, and today I'll be teaching you the story of Super Mario 64. That was a great name there, because originality is clearly strong with this one. I always liked Super Mario 64 when I was a kid. I remember playing it at my aunt's house all the time. Well, one day a pop-up appeared out of nowhere as I was watching gameplay footage on YouTube. I was a little startled and I was about to close the window until I realized that it was a website showing a mint-condition copy of Mario 64 for sale. With a picture and everything. Well, I guess if there's a picture, you gotta buy this junk. I usually don't trust these things, but the feeling of nostalgia overpowered me and I wanted to buy it. The whole business was peculiar, seeing as the owner of the game wanted the buyer to send an envelope containing $10 to and address on the website, instead of using something like PayPal. What made things even more strange was that when I tried to gain access to the website after encountering problems with the game, the page was nowhere to be found. Wow, that's some pretty shady website design there. It completely disappears after you buy the game? Seems legit. Well, a few days after the $10 was mailed, I got a package containing the new copy of the game. First thing I noticed when I opened the small box was that the official sticker with Mario flying in the air was apparently peeled off or something. In its place was a piece of duct tape with Mario written on it in permanent marker. I felt a bit ripped off, but as long as the game worked, I didn't care. I got out my Nintendo 64 and put the cartridge in. The screen turned on with a familiar Mario face you could stretch and twist aimlessly. I remember laughing all the time at the results as a kid and tried to mess around for old time's sake. Okay then, well, I don't know why you enjoy that. It's not really interesting, but YOLO, right? Tried to move the cursor to Mario's ear and pulled it to 11 proportions. Oh wait, I'm sorry, what does that even mean? I was going to do the same to the other ear, but the TV suddenly produced loud static. Well, then I guess you might want to consider purchasing a better TV, because apparently yours is broken. Mario's whole head started deforming and twisting in ways I didn't even know were possible for the model. Random sound effects started when the game started playing along with the static. As all this was occurring, I could hear a faint voice whispering Japanese. The voice was stammering and whimpering. Well, clearly you bought a Japanese copy as well, so I'm not sure how you managed this one. I immediately shut off the game and tried again. I didn't even bother with the Mario head this time. I selected a new file and started playing. When I selected the file, the game skipped the opening monologue by Peach in the courtyard outside. Mario was just placed right outside the castle. Creepier still, Bowser didn't say anything either. I tried to ignore it and played anyway. However, I also noticed there was no music, just dead silence. There weren't even any toads to talk to. My only door I could enter was the Bomb battlefield. The other doors wouldn't even respond to my button commands. Wow, I guess your controller's broken too. You've got some great hardware going on here. The portrait of Bomb battlefield wasn't the usual picture. It was just a stark white canvas. I was still trying to convince myself these were just minor glitches and they wouldn't affect the gameplay at all. Once I entered the portrait, the image suddenly went from black canvas to the lethal lava land painting. That suddenly unsettling image of the flame with the evil smile. Yeah, that's when I started getting really suspicious. Yeah, you see, this is why I said you don't buy things from random pop-ups on YouTube, okay? The mission select menu came up, and yet another weird detail was present. Instead of Big Bomb on the summit, the mission was called Turn Back. I have no idea what drove me to press A, but I did. The level seemed normal. Everything was how I remembered it. I thought I could finally enjoy my favorite childhood game. Then I saw him, Luigi. He was never in this game. Yeah, you're right. At least you got something right here. Luigi just stood there until I tried to approach him. He started running at unexpected speeds. I followed suit and went through the level. Strange things happened as I pursued him. Every time I picked up a coin, the enemy's music would get slower, and the scenery would look darker in color and more morbid. It kept gradually getting worse until I collected a fifth coin. Then the music just stopped. The enemies laid down on the ground like they were dead. I was seriously freaked out, but I kept chasing Luigi. I went up the hill. No cannonballs rolled down trying to knock me over like usual. I really wasn't surprised at this point. Luigi was just out of my sight as I ran. Once I reached the summit, I saw yet another object out of place. A small cottage was all that was on top of the hill. Luigi was nowhere to be found. The cottage was suddenly odd-looking for a Mario game. It was old, plain, and broken down. Regardless of my fears at that moment, I had Mario enter the cottage. As soon as the door closed, a disturbing picture of Hang Luigi immediately popped up, along with a very frightening scare chord. It sounded like a violin screech accompanied by a loud piano banging. Mario fell to his knees and sobbed for roughly 5 minutes, and then the screen irised out. What does that even mean? I returned to the castle. Mario just slumped out of the painting. Wow. Yeah, you might want to sell this junk back on eBay or something like that. The image switched from lethal lava land portrait to the image of Luigi hanging himself. The room was different this time. It was now a small hallway, or whatever, I don't know. Toes with blank expressions and white robes lined the sides of the hallway. There was another painting at the opposite end that just completely and utterly scared me. It was a picture of my family. It wasn't even a picture from the time when Mario 64 was released. It was a very, very recent photo. I remember posing for it last weekend. Well, then I guess you might have some kind of stalker running around everywhere as well, so that's great to know, right? I reached the on and off switch on the N64. There was no way I was going to play this game anymore. However, when I flipped the switch, the game was still on. Wow. Your N64 is clearly super bugged. I didn't know any game could do that, but okay. I flipped it back on and off, but to no avail. I tried unplugging the whole system, but it never left the screen. I was still able to control Mario. I just couldn't leave it on forever. So I kept playing. What? I'm sorry, what? I couldn't leave it on forever, so I kept playing. I'm sorry, what does that even mean? Do you speak English, sir? I went to the photo of my family and jumped in. Only one mission was available. This one, of course, was called Run, Don't Walk. I selected the mission. Let's go. This level was a flooded hallway with platforms floating on the water. Mario landed on one of these. The camera showed what was behind. A silent black void was slowly approaching Mario. It didn't look like anything. It didn't even look like unfinished graphics. It was a giant, blocky black blob. I started jumping from platform to platform with no goal in sight. I kept running, with darkness slowly but surely gaining speed. This was going on for what felt like hours. I was really doubting there was ever going to be an end. Mario just kept going in circles. Finally, the black blob of void thing caught up with Mario and enveloped him in darkness. He didn't even scream or resist at all, just consumed him. Wow, there's some spooky shit going on here. Mario fell out of the painting and back into the castle. I lost one of my 3 lives. The room was different now. You've got some amazing grammar. Some of the toads were gone, and the painting looked different. My family and I were in different positions, but our bodies partially composed. It looked too real to be photoshopped. It looked like someone took our dead bodies and posed them. Regardless, I jumped into the painting again. Mario was in a small room. There was only one mission available. It was called I'm Right Here, spelled just like that. Except for the fact that nobody knows. Wow, okay, so I selected the mission and was prepared for the worst. Mario landed in a small dark room. There was no visible way out. The room was empty except for a piano in the corner. I knew what that meant. I was stuck in there with the mad piano enemy. I approached it and it started chasing me as always. There was no way to damage it, so I had no choice but to let Mario take damage. When he lost all of his health, Mario... Wait, what? I'm sorry. What? Huh? Oh my god, this story is awful. What even is this? Okay, so when he lost all of his health, the usual death animation didn't happen. Mario just got mauled by the piano. He fell as his blood and guts spilled on the floor, and the camera panned to a top-down view of his corpse. A distorted version of the merry-go music from Big Boo's Haunt played as the screen slowly transitioned from the in-game shot to a photorealistic sketch of Mario's dead body in the same view as the shot. It was very unsettling. I cried softly as I gazed upon the image. I lost another life. The photo of my family was shown again. We were even more rotten than before. The view zoomed in from the painting, like I was warping again. I was greeted with a shot of Peach's castle from the outside. The castle was crumbling in ruin. The fields were on fire. The sky was pitch black. Bowser's laugh played on a loop in the background as children mockingly chanting, "You couldn't save her." This went on for a long time, until a close-up of Peach's face, accompanied by an extremely loud screech, interrupted the loop with no notice. Peach's mouth was wide open as she was screaming, and her eyes were empty black holes. Wow, amazing. Suddenly, I was back in the hallway as Mario was once again ejected out of the painting. All of the toads were gone, and me and my family looked positively repulsive. Maggots were wriggling around in holes in our flesh, guts were spilling out of our bodies. My dad's eyeball was hanging loose from its socket. It was too much to bear, but something still urged me to trudge on. I jumped into the painting with only one life remaining. This time there was no name for the mission, just a blank space where the title would be. Wow, what did you even do to this cartridge? I selected the mission, and Mario landed on a very small island in the middle of the ocean. There was a solitary sign. It only read, "Dive." I did just as it said and entered the water. The ocean was dark and empty. There were no fish. I wasn't even able to see anything in the water besides Mario. I swam downward. I kept going for quite some time. Mario never ran out of breath. I counted roughly 10 minutes until I ran out of air and decided to go back up. Just as I turned Mario around, it came. A huge, and I mean huge, eel came out of nowhere and swallowed Mario whole. I was dumbfounded. Yes, and I'm also dumbfounded about how bad your story is. It went by so fast, I wasn't even sure what I just saw. The game over screen didn't even show up. All that happened was a fade out. The photo of my family was shown again. They were just skeletons now. Once again, it looked very real. I couldn't even turn the camera at all. I just stayed focused on the picture. I shut off the game and turned it on again. I chose my file, but just went to the skeleton photo of my family. I tried this about 3 or more times before giving up. I desperately wanted to stop, but this force kept me from walking away. I decided to select the only other saved file. The camera once again focused on the skeleton picture, but this time they were in a different position, as if they were a different family. Wow, and that was the story of Super Mario 64. Clearly, this is the most MLG story in gaming history, with text errors and grammar issues and spelling mistakes everywhere, and complete logic failure. This story is just absolutely amazing. Wow. Well, until next time, have fun, praise the sun.